Hey everyone, Camber here, helping you stay fit for life. And today we're talking about why you shouldn't start a diet in 2021. Wait, did I say that right? Yeah, you heard it right. Why you should not start a diet in 2021, and 3 things to do instead to help you lose the weight and keep it off this year. Okay, but before we go into those reasons why you shouldn't start a diet, I'm going to caveat that with saying if you are already healthy, in shape, like the way you were, and you just gained a little weight over the holidays from eating all the extra goodies, then sure, go on a quick short-term diet and then get rid of those few pounds you got. But if you're overweight and have a lot of pounds to lose, well then it's probably not the best idea. And the first reason is because most diets typically fail, meaning that people quit doing them because often they're way too restrictive. So if you go from sitting around eating pizza and ice cream while watching Netflix all the time to eating only lettuce and almonds and doing nonstop cardio, you'll definitely succeed in losing the weight if you can stick with that long enough. But the problem is once you go off that diet and back to what you were doing before, the weight's gonna come back and then you're gonna get into this yo-yo effect where you're always dieting and then gaining it back. And the reason for this is because you didn't get fat overnight. But when you go on these diets and everyone gets in the mindset of, I want this to happen as soon as possible, and I'm gonna only eat these types of foods and do all this extra cardio and exercise, but then you don't realize that it's the lifestyle you've been leading up to this point that got you to being overweight. And so when you get to that goal weight that you're looking for, if you can sustain it that long, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna go right back to your old lifestyle, which led you to being the way you are now that you don't like, and then it's slowly just gonna come back, or possibly quickly because you were severely restricting so much that now you start binging and going crazy. So the secret to losing weight and keeping it off is to make sustainable lifestyle changes. Okay, so we're gonna look at 3 things that you can implement right now and build on in the future. And make sure you stay till the end because seriously, the third one is the most important, that if you don't get right, then the other stuff won't really matter. So number 1 is to make sustainable physical activity changes. Okay, but what does this look like? Well, let's say just commit to going on a 1 to 2 mile walk every day. And sure, that might sound like a lot at first, but really this shouldn't take you more than 30 to 40 minutes, even if you're doing a normal slow walking pace. And this is quite easy to start with, and you can burn a couple hundred calories, and it's good to just be outside. But you might think, oh, I don't have time to commit to that every day, but you'll make time for what's important to you, and your health really should be one of the most important things. So there are lots of other things you can get done while doing this. So you like listening to music or podcast or maybe an audiobook, you can do all that with some earphones while going for your walk. Or, maybe you could pull out the phone, use some headphones, and call your mom up and talk to her because she's been wanting you to call her. But if you are out walking where there's cars around, make sure you're paying attention if you're listening to something or talking to someone so you don't get run over because, well, that would be pretty counterproductive. Or, say maybe you have access to a treadmill or a stationary bike, you could say, you know what, I'm only gonna watch a TV show or movie if it's while I'm doing one of those. So you could pull out an iPad or your phone, stick it up on there, and just start walking or riding, and you'll be doing a lot of work while you're watching your show, enjoying stuff that you like to do. And I typically do this a lot if I'm out of town in hotels where they don't have a lot of gym equipment, but I still want to be active. I'll just go for a long walk while watching a movie. And the great thing about this is that you can go further and faster each time you go out, and it won't be that hard to improve every time. And before you know it, you could just be running throughout this whole 20 to 30 minute time, covering a longer distance, burning more calories, and then it'll be better overall for your health and especially for your heart. Number 2 is to make sustainable food changes. Okay, what do I mean by that? If you think about the Atkins diet, which is cutting out almost all carbs, or I've heard people say, I'm gonna cut out sugar or sweets for a month or however long, or maybe, I can't have that, sorry, I'm on a diet. Well, what happens as soon as you say, I'm not gonna eat that, I can't have that? At least for me, that thing is gonna be on my mind a lot because man, I really want a cookie. I really want to eat that pizza. I want that. But okay, I'm on a diet, so I can't do that. But you only have so much willpower, and then eventually you give in, and then you find yourself sitting there with 2 empty boxes of pizza that you just ate. Yeah, I've done it. So what can you do instead? Well, hey, babe, can you come here for a sec? When she wanted to lose some baby weight after our 4th kid, I helped set up a little diet workout plan for, what were the 2 things you had to do every week?
Every day I had to eat a dessert.
Dessert.
And every week I had to eat a pizza.
So 2 things, well, there's a lot more things you like to eat, but one of the things she had to do is have pizza, some kind of pizza every week. That didn't mean she ate a whole pizza, but we're not cutting it out completely. We're still gonna eat it, but not very often, and make good choices when we have it. Like, say, we're not gonna get the stuffed crust pizza or the extra cheese on it or any of that kind of stuff, and maybe it'll even be a thin crust because you can cut down on a lot of those calories that way and still enjoy your pizza, but it won't be, all those extra calories. And the other thing is having a dessert every single day. That doesn't mean, we kept a cake in the fridge where you eat your dessert and then it's like, oh, you know what, I want another piece of cake, and then you just get more and more. But if you're gonna do this, think about, okay, I'm gonna have one sweet every day, and it's gonna be some kind of packaged sweet. So maybe some kind of candy bar, like she likes Reese's, so had a couple Reese's cups every day, and that's only a couple hundred to 200 or 300 calories for most of those kind of candy bars. Or even better, you can make some homemade protein bars, like in my last video you can check out, which are quite good. They're not as good as the candy bars, but they are quite satisfying and get rid of that craving for you. And then once you're finished with that sweet, you take your trash, throw it away because you finished it, you've satisfied your craving, and now you don't feel like you need to keep eating more because you're having it every day, so you're gonna get to have it again. It's not gonna be months of, oh, when can I eat this good food, that you're gonna eventually probably give in on anyways and then go overboard. Okay, and the third and most important thing that you absolutely have to understand is that at the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out. Okay, so you don't have to cut carbs or fats or eat certain types of foods to lose weight, okay? You could eat pizza and donuts every single day for your diet and still lose weight if the amount of calories you took in were less than the amount that you put out every day. But it would be pretty hard to do this because they're such high calorie foods that you'd have to eat a really small amount, which would make you feel hungry pretty much all day long. So what you need to do is figure out how many calories you need per day and then just eat 200 or 300 below that every day. And the slower you lose that weight, the better, because you're more likely to keep it off if you're doing this by changing your lifestyle rather than just severely restricting your diet and doing ridiculous amounts of exercise. Those things will help you get there faster, but they're unsustainable, and we need to make sustainable lifestyle changes rather than quick fixes. And the trick to eating in this 200 or 300 calorie deficit over a long period of time without feeling hungry every day is to eat low calorie dense foods and to make substitutions for things. For example, say you like eating eggs for breakfast. You could eat 2 whole eggs, which is around 150 calories without adding any kind of oils or anything like that. Or you could have some egg whites and have 6 servings of egg whites, which is a lot more food for the same amount of calories, but you're gonna feel a lot more full when you eat that. Okay, what about pancakes? Everybody loves those. And they're not too bad for you. You can make some healthy versions, but then you go and reach for that maple syrup, and that has 110 calories for 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. And do you really think all you're putting on it is 2 tablespoons? Or instead, you could go for the low-calorie, sugar-free maple syrup, which only has 5 calories for 2 tablespoons. So you could literally have 20 times as much syrup for the same amount of calories. Now, you're not gonna eat all that, but you know that you can eat more, and it's really not gonna have that big of a hit on what you're eating, whereas that maple syrup will build up really fast. What about sodas? You like drinking Coke or something like that? Well, we really need to stop drinking your calories, because that is a quick way to get rid of your calorie deficit and then even be in a surplus where you start gaining weight, whereas you can just switch to some kind of diet soda if you don't like drinking water, and then that's gonna keep the calories low, and you're not gonna be wasting calories on something that's not gonna fill you up when you're in this stage of being in a calorie deficit. And people always talking about, eat salads when you're on a diet, which I love salads, so that's not a problem with me, but eating salad is a good thing because you can get a ton of vegetables in there, lots of spinach, lettuce, really pile it up, and all those foods don't have many calories, so that's gonna fill you up, but it's not gonna have a big hit on how many calories you're taking in. Granted, you don't put stuff in there like ranch dressing that can have hundreds of calories in it. Look for something like a low-calorie vinaigrette dressing, because there's all kinds of flavors of that. They're really good and typically are a better alternative. But just check what you're using for dressing, but look at the dressings you're using and don't waste calories on those dressings. Go ahead, throw meat, all kinds of vegetables on that. It's really gonna fill you up, but just don't be pouring all this high-calorie dressing on your salad, because then you're really gonna negate the whole purpose of this more healthy food that you are eating. Okay, but I'm gonna have a lot more suggestions on foods that will fill you up, that are low calorie, that'll help you stay in this deficit and lose that weight long term in a lifestyle that'll help you keep it off. Okay, so just remember that you didn't get to how you are overnight. It's the lifestyle that got you there, and what we need to change is that lifestyle. And the way we're going to do that is, first off, remembering that it is calories in versus calories out at the end of the day. And it's these fad diets that people don't really ever stick with, because you only have so much willpower before you finally give in and quit, or you make it all the way to the goal weight you wanted, and then you go back to that lifestyle that you were living that caused you to be where you are now, to where you're thinking, I need to go on a diet. So just remember, it's making sustainable life changes that aren't drastic, that you can maintain throughout your life to get more healthy, and then you stay that way. And the thing is, once you get to your goal weight, nothing changes, because you're already in that lifestyle, except that you just can eat more of those same foods you're already having. All right, so just remember the three things. The main one is calories in versus calories out, okay? If you're eating more than you're putting out, then you're gonna gain weight no matter what you're doing, okay? Then number two, there we go, is to make sure you're doing some kind of activity every day. Just go for a walk. It's as simple as that, and then build on that in the future. And three is, don't be so restrictive on what you're eating, but make good choices that you can control, so that you don't go overboard, like eating a sweet every day, but making sure it's something packaged so that you don't just keep eating more and more like a big old piece of cake sitting in the fridge. So hopefully this has opened your eyes to the fact that doing these crash diets isn't really a good idea. It's better to make a sustainable life change that will keep you healthy in the long term and you can stick with, okay? So let me know down in the comments what you plan on doing for 2021 for your health, and if this sounds like a good idea to you, as opposed to going on some kind of really restrictive diet that's probably not gonna work, since it doesn't for most people. But if this video was helpful, hit that thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video.